I wanted to record a video on a topic that I've mentioned in person to people, but I've never recorded a video on this. But I think this explains a lot about one more reason I became an atheist. There's so many different reasons to be an atheist and why you might not believe the story that Christianity or whatever your religion happens to be that you were raised as. So here's the thing. Now, the homosexuality and the transgender issue, the LGBT stuff, as most people who are gay or trans know, they don't really get along with Christians very well. And here's why LGBT people and Christians generally don't get along. Okay, first of all, Christians believe in a God that created the world a certain way, and there's a way things are supposed to be. This is a basic difference between theists and atheists. Theists tend to view the world as God designed it this way, and when somebody tries to change something and do something different than what they consider natural, then they view it as a sin and that they're disobeying God. Well, here's the thing. In regards to whether it's homosexuality or being transgender, well, here's the deal. My approach to this, because I was raised a Christian, my approach to this was, well, if people have the wrong sexual orientation or their gender identity doesn't match their body that they have, then isn't that a design flaw? Now, see, here's the thing. As a computer programmer, here's how I view things. Even though I've only been programming as a hobby, here's the thing is, when a video game crashes or there's glitches that people use to cheat at video games, or something like that, or it's some other program that crashes. It could be your word processor. What do people assume? If there's a crash, if the program failed to load or it was running and then just quit, okay, there's a few things that could explain it. One of course being not enough memory to run that program. That's a common one. But people immediately know that, well, these programs were designed by a human programmer who coded things, and they must have made a mistake. Yeah, they must have made a mistake, because how else can you explain all the glitches and failures? And as somebody who's been programming since I was 14 years old, there's all kinds of things that can go wrong. Whether trying to process user input and the user inputs something you don't expect, or whether you're trying to allocate memory and your computer doesn't have enough memory for that. There's all kinds of mistakes that can happen when programming. So anyway, enough about programming, but the point is, we immediately assume that the designer, whether it's a computer program or whether it's something else, some hardware device, we tend to assume when something becomes, over time, we see that products of a company are very shoddily made. They're just not very good. Like, for example, I believe that Apple products are actually not very good. That's a matter of opinion. I won't debate on that. But the Apple computer company, I have issues with that company. I don't like the things with the slave labor in China, and I don't think that the iPhones are as good as Android phones anyway. But here's the thing. We look to the producer, the designer, the creator of something, and when something goes wrong, and we assume, well, they must have made a mistake. So now, here's the thing. Now, to a Christian who believes that God created male and female and designed this system where men and women are supposed to have sex and have babies and be fruitful and multiply. I mean, that was what I was taught, right? That was totally what I was taught personally, and that's what people interpret the Bible generally to mean. So what happens? What happens when a person does not fit that? What happens when a person figures out, wait a minute, I'm not straight, I don't think about having sex with somebody of the opposite gender, or perhaps they think about having sex with the same gender or same sex, sex, gender. That's debatable. That I think they're kind of different, but whatever. Anyway, but the point is, if somebody is having feelings that they might be homosexual, doesn't that kind of indicate a design flaw? Or if somebody does not feels they were born in the wrong body, that they were born a boy, but they should have been a girl, or born a girl, should have been a boy, and then they take steps because they feel so strongly, they take steps to correct that aspect of themselves which they view as wrong, then how can it be their sin? Is it not a mistake of the designer, the creator, the God? That was my view. And that was the conclusion I came to, because I started finding out, when I was in church and I was a young adult, I started finding out that people, they viewed homosexuality as a sin, and it's very weird, but looking at it now, and after having known a lot of gay and transgender people that I've seen in person, and I watched so many YouTube videos of gay and trans people, and it's like, well, these millions of people who are not fitting the heterosexual stereotype that the Christians want them to, how are there so many of these people who don't fit this if God created a system where people are programmed to be heterosexual? Something went wrong. There's a design flaw. And of course, now I don't believe any of that stuff. I don't believe any of this stuff about God creating the world. I really do, I do believe in evolution, and I really think that, that's a better explanation. And a God doesn't answer any questions, because who created God? There's the whole thing is that people can just come up with an explanation for how the world began, but I don't care. It doesn't matter to me if there's a God or not. The point is, Christians and Muslims treat gay and transgender people horribly, not to mention most of them are carnists, and carnism is built into their religion, that killing and eating animals is not only okay, but commanded by God. So the point is, I can't be a Christian or Muslim or Jew. I can't really be part of Hindus. The closest I could be is a Jain if I was going to be a religion, But the point is that I will never be a Christian like I was raised to be, and I came to reject it. And a big part of it was because, although I don't really know if I've admitted this before, I believe I was born in the wrong body. I think I should have been a girl, because it really would have matched my feelings more closely. And I mean, I don't want to get too much into that, but yeah, when I was in my early 20s, I was really questioning gender identity and sexual orientation, and you know what? I still am. But no, I used to pray that God would turn me into a girl because I didn't want to be a boy. But God never answered my prayers, never answered my questions, and I used to pray, and I would read 5 chapters of the Bible a day, and Christianity just hurts me so bad, the mention of it. The mention of Christianity hurts me so bad because of all the damage that it caused me, and how I didn't learn other things and pursue things that I would have if I hadn't been spending so much time trying to be a good Christian. And you know what? I'm crying now. I can say no more.